I've got an interesting one for you today. This is the cheapest in the Element RC Enduro family. It's got a bunch of plastic, but it's got a few surprises up its sleeve. I guarantee if you don't know much about this car, you are going to be impressed. This is worth the 10 minutes to check out, or however long this video is. Come along with me, I can't wait to show you. Let's do it. Now this is marketed as a cheaper version of the Sendero HD. At first glance, you might think, yeah, well, that makes sense. You know, it's got the plastic links, kind of like noodly. They even give the deadbolt a run for its money on just how noodly these are. Like they're seriously flexible. But the question is, it's really windy. The question is, can you or should you replace them? Well, I don't know. I've been thinking about how to start this video for a couple of days because this is one unusual car. It's a budget, like a US $299 recommended retail, considerably cheaper than the other cars in the current Element stable. On the Sendero HD, this thing's so bendy. When I pick it up, I worry I'm gonna snap it, and I probably will one day if I keep doing that. Like the whole thing there's so much flex. It is pretty tough, but gee, it's flexible. No wheel wells, moderately heavy, two-piece body. Now the SE cheaps out a little bit. We've got plastic shocks. Little half-length springs, they're not adjustable. In the box you get the standard extra bits so that you can fit a larger full coil-over spring to it. You don't need to though. You've got plastic centers instead of the aluminium centers or aluminum centers in the Sendero HD. You've got plasticky looking diff covers, which you might think are a cheaper version, but these are plastic as well. So that's not so bad. It is a one-piece polycarbonate body, so there's a big plus right there. And another confusing thing about this is, yeah, well, look, you've got wheel wells inside here, which the Sendero HD doesn't come with, and that front bumper is considerably more rigid. This fella having a tube type bed, the bumper's kind of the end of the bed there. This being a one-piece polycarbonate model has a nice, pretty tube bumper as well. Removable, adjustable. In fact, it could probably stand to go in a hole already. And you can also see we can probably drop the body by maybe a hole as well, given this sits, yeah, I reckon we can probably drop the body one hole as well as bringing things in. So there's room for optimization out of the box. The things that really stand out to me though are the fact that it doesn't have overdrive. The Stealth XF transmission has the wheels that spin at the same speed. I think the other Enduro family all come with that 5.7% overdrive out of the box, and you get the 11.8% gear included. This not only comes with standard drive front and rear, there are no extra gears included. Thankfully I've got other Element cars, and if you do too, you can just grab the one of the two gears out of your pack and you should be able to make the swap. Being that it's a cheaper trail truck, I mean, overdrive would have been nice, but it's not a deal breaker. It is lovely and light. Two things that I think work in this thing's favor, aside from the really soft rubbery tires, is you've got servo on axle. These guys are servo on chassis or chassis mounted servo. Axle mounted servo or servo on axle. Why did I say axle mounted servo? Doesn't matter. So this will give you better steering, just straight up better steering. So you've got, that means you also have full-length front and rear suspension. So while it's plastic and noodly, that's a big plus. So the big plus that this thing has over the more expensive Element cars is the servo on axle steering, and also being super duper lightweight. I rather suspect this might actually do all right on the rocks. Without overdrive, will it be better than the Sendero? I don't know, maybe. Certainly the Ecto would be one I'd be interested in comparing it to. But just given the price that you pay, you still get the same electronics that the other Enduro family comes with. You get that same 16-turn 5-slot motor, buttery smooth. Not super high on power, but it's really controllable. Its minimum speed is, you know, it's not modern brushless crawler slow, but it's pretty good. And another thing that they've changed is they've gone away from the XP130 radio to a FlySky. I'm a big FlySky fan. They make good stuff, and it is actually a 4-channel radio, 4 or 5. Sometimes there's a 5th. Yeah, 4-channel radio. All the standard trims. Channel 3 is a 3-position switch. Channel 4 is just a momentary button. But you've got it. I mean, this came with a 3-position and room to mount a winch in the front. And lights, I should add, in the body. You don't get any of that with this. You don't even get the plastic front grille that the Sendero HD, I'm going to break that bumper, that it comes with. But having those 2 extra channels means, hey, you can stick a winch if you want, or whatever else you like. I mean, we've got more choice than ever these days. It's still the same mid-mounted transmission, even though it's a Stealth XF. Being mid-mounted, it's still, this is actually an optimal setup for crawling, arguably more than the other Enduro family stuff. So that's the rundown. It's cheap, it's got plastic bits all through it, but it does have those wheel wells, it does have servo on axle, and it's super lightweight. How's it going to crawl? These tyres are thin, they're not particularly scale with the Element logo on them, the pin seekers, but I mean, they're vented and they are super soft in the hand. I reckon this actually might do all right. Let's hit the rocks and find out. All right, this is problem 1. The very first time I've ever driven this car is right now. We're running on 3S battery. Yeah, look at that tyre deforming. I can already tell you 3S was a mistake, 2S was the right choice here, but that's okay. It's really light, and it therefore just popped right up there, which would have been a real problem for other cars. Give it another go. I've already missed overdrive, but you don't need overdrive, it's just a nice thing to have. It'd be helpful here. We have to pull around. There we go. So the lovely light weight of this thing and that servo on axle means we have a very composed car. And straight into problem 2. Again, I'll recommend a 2S battery, not a 3S, if you're considering this car. The bumper was dragging in. Yeah, I think 2S is really where it's at for this kind of thing. I need to line up a bit better. And I am missing overdrive, which would help pull the nose around here. It's nice having sliders though. They actually took the brunt of that fall. It's 48 dot pitch gearing. It's a 313mm wheelbase. They're beadlock wheels, though they're plastic, they look great. I'm just easing the throttle on here ever so slowly. There we go. I mean, there is another advantage here to having these little plastic links. You might think, oh, they're cheap and noodly, replace them straight away. I suggest, no, don't replace them straight away, because sometimes when you're out on the trail, this thing will grab a rock and it'll come up underneath the thing, and it'll save your drivetrain because the links will bend and the... I mean, look at this. If this thing grabs a rock, right, and you're under power, the whole thing can just bend right in and it will save other components. This lovely noodly plastic, it is cheaper to produce, and so yeah, you're going to find it on a budget car. So let's look at speed for a sec. Make sure we're in frame. Long grass here too. There you go, so that's jogging speed, that's not bad. Yeah, it's not actually all bad. Noodly plastic links on a do-it-all crawler when you're not seriously trying to crawl, and even if you are sometimes, honestly, it's not all bad. I like this car so far. See, it's... Oh, I didn't mention, it's got 24 bushings. You can see the bushings even from here, in the wheel there. There's no, where are we? In there. There's no ball bearing to be seen on this car, it's bushings. But that means you can mud run and you won't get damaged by mud. There we go. And you'll also notice no wipers, no side mirrors. But it's less to snap off. I mean, we just looked at the Gen 9, that thing was snapping mirrors, and the Sendero HD I was just showing you, I've gone through a couple of mirrors on that. Lack of trim may not bother a lot of people. I like scale, but man, if I'm taking something out for a bash, I'm not that fussed. And in fact, my nicer stuff, I kind of have to baby because there's hours of work that can just go down the toilet in one bad position. Now this is one little acceleration away from flipping. I wonder if we can just make it fall across ever so slightly. Because if we can get the front right into that crack. Right now I can see it's resting on the front lower right link and also the rear right lower. Overdrive would be nice here too, but it's not actually a deal breaker. It just makes it a bit harder. There we go, there we go. So I'm just working it around. Oh, that tire is just stretching. We lost our traction. They're skinny tires, but the I think the diameter is, well, it says it right there in front of us, 4.7. So they're bigger than the stock Element grabbers. They're 4.65. 4.65 if you couldn't hear me. Why is there a horse behind me? I thought it was a deer, it was a horse. There we go. Look at that, straight up. Horse tried to distract me, but nope, we got the power. As you roll up the rock and onto a flower. That's all 3 problems so far. Woohoo! And into problem 4. First 3 problems out of the way. I did tell you, it looked like it had potential, this. Lightweight is actually important. Everyone's adding weight to their crawlers these days, but, well, not everyone. If you're nodding your head along with me right now, you may not be. Being careful, or picky I should say, about where you add the weight is very much to your advantage. Because every little bit of weight you add has to be dragged over rocks. And so adding a little weight judiciously, like on the front axle, maybe on the C-hubs or on the knuckles, that can be all that's needed to take a rig to the next level of performance. If you add it to the rear, it often does more harm than good. Because it might apparently increase traction. Look at the nice solid unis, I didn't mention that. Look at the unis and the axles there. Element is just making good stuff these days. The wheelbase working just here. We're close to getting this. No. Come on. Back just a shade. There we go. It's so close. I got that far at least. Alright. Just high pointing here. We'll look around the last rock. I think we'll get this. It was close. Nope. Too far, Craig. Too far, too far. Now that back left is pushing, and as long as the right can slide across and the front left can grab right now, we'll have it. It's very delicate right this minute. If it starts to go up, it's over. There we go. Look at that. That was really, really close. But we did it. There you go. Man, it's a cheapie. This is fun. Alright, problem 5. I am liking these little skinny tires. They don't look hugely scaled, but this isn't a hugely scaled car. You know what is also really satisfying here? Is, oh, look how nicely it rides this side hill. Oh boy. We've got straight axles here, right? So we've got less pumpkin clearance, but we've got correspondingly better center of gravity. The bumper, it's a full width bumper, the other side's in the rock crack there. Just got to find a way through it. There we go. Yeah. Oh, no, we don't get it. It's so close. Is that horse? There was a horse here just before. I don't know where it came from. I haven't seen its head. I think it's gone back over the fence. Yeah, it's not just straight axles, but the combination of straight axles and servo on that front axle give this car actually something of a comp crawler feel. And I am absolutely digging it. Like this crawler is a cheapie, but well, I mean, it's a cheap brand name. It's not cheap like the super cheap Chinese models, but it's a relatively cheap model from a big manufacturer. But look at it go. Look at it go. It's trouble free. It's so nice. Right, on to problem 6. We've got all 5 prior problems finished. And between you and me, I actually don't expect it'll get 6. Ah, okay, so it was just munching on a rock then, and one of the links bent. That's what I was mentioning before. This is a real life scenario. I've had it happen before with the older SCX-10-1. They're with the same kind of noodly links. We're resting on the bumper. Just got to pop past it. It's really close. I was mentioning I bought brass just before. Out of all the Enduro cars I have, I've been thinking of putting it on the Ecto, but this thing kind of deserves it. It's actually beautifully balanced. And what a sleeper. Just the slightest upgrade, and we don't need to make this one pretty. It's made to be a DIY, a do-it-all trail truck. I don't think it's going to do it too. It's just going to be a great all-round trail truck. It can get wet, it can get neglected. It'll take 2 or 3 hours. I think my battery's fading actually. The ESC has a little jumper you can set to life. I don't know if I did that. Probably didn't, since the battery's fading. I'm so keen to get it to finish this, but I actually don't expect it will be able to. This is a problem that's challenging, and it does require a few things to work together. And this car, its big square bumpers, I think, are the weak point here. The tyres reach isn't bad. The steering is certainly good, but being super lightweight or not isn't such a big deal on this problem. Having the geometry work together in such a way that there's clearance and yet the ability to get over steps and stuff and to turn an angle is just, I think it's that rear bumper that's causing grief. But we'll just, I'll give it a good go. Overdrive here would help draw the nose across. It's okay though, we're being really careful with the throttle. I'm liking these tyres. And once we come back this far, then we fall off. I can't see any other way to get up here. The line choice is limited. Alright, so we've actually crested the rock at this point, but the angle is such that it's not going to make it. But it was a hearty effort. Well, there you have it, Rock Crawler fam. This thing I thought would actually be alright, and what do you know, it really was. Servo is slightly warm. Motor is, if I can get fingers in there, I got wheel wells now, so it stops my ready access. Ouch, 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 yep. Motor is hot enough to smell. I really pushed it on problem 6, so the ESC is probably stinking hot too. Let's have a look. I lost a body pin when I was putting it together, so I just did all 6 of those problem attempts on 3 out of 4 body pins. I just hoped you wouldn't notice. Ow! Oh boy! Well, that was something of a baptism by fire, because I ran this on 3S and the motor and the ESC are smoking hot. There's a smell of ozone in the car. I just ran this car harder, or let's say as hard as you're ever going to run it. That's continual attempts at a series of difficult rock problems. I stalled the motor out a few times. Like, that was tough. It took it The bodywork has been protected by the sliders and bumpers all the way around. They're absolutely covered in scratches now. Again, I make the case to you that these noodly links are absolutely fine. There's scratching on them, but you will find, I bet you'll find they're quite durable, and they're not actually all the same. The upper and lower front and the upper rears are all a similar size. The lower rears are actually quite bolstered and thick. I think you'll find they'll stand the test of time. You could probably buy a pack of bearings, or you could assemble your own just based on whatever the 24 bushings are in this thing. I wouldn't bother. Unless you start going to brushless and you're using it, you know, 3+ days a week kind of thing, then bearings might pay for themselves, but really, keep the plastic fantastic as it is. Consider adding a little weight in the front, or even just some heavier wheels if you have to. This motor won't reward you for doing that though. Out of the box, even if you just leave it bog stock, you will surprise your friends and it'll surprise you on the regular. This is spectacular. Again, straight axles, nice low center of gravity, servo on axle, beautiful. I love the wheel wells, I love the center mounted transmission. You can get front overdrive. That might be the #1 mod to get for this thing, honestly. The level 2 mods would be probably to bolster your electronics, just like even a Fusion 1800 and even a nicer servo, one or the other, and it'll transform the car moderately well. But these electronics are absolutely adequate and appropriate for this level of car. I really like this thing. I love that it's painted on the outside on this part, on the matte black area. I love the hefty sticker sheet. Love the change to Fly Sky from the XP130. That was a bulky old looking thing. Nothing wrong with the radio, but this is a nicer radio, it just is. Yeah, this really is one of my favorite cars. It's one of my favorites. What can I say? If you're looking at a cheapie, an appropriate comparison would be this versus the Axial Deadbolt, which is US $40 more than this. I think $339 versus $299. Close enough that that's a nice servo upgrade. Just saying. So it could, if you're considering between those two, they also both have the skinny tires, and they're both actually pretty good. And I think the Deadbolt can do 5 or 6 of these problems as well. It's a 3-pole 540. This is a 5-pole 540. You're going to have a similar time with both of them, honestly. Even down to the plastic bendy stuff. It's this versus the Deadbolt. I guess that's the next video I do on this, because that's the appropriate thing. If you're considering a cheapie, it's this from a brand name, so you know, cheapie, I know it's still a bit of money, but this versus Deadbolt versus, I suppose the RGT Pioneer would be the closest thing I can think of, but it's not really the same. Yeah, let's do this versus the Deadbolt. We'll check it out. Guys, thanks for watching along with me for my Sendero SE review. I made it rock focused. We haven't really gone over everything in, you know, nice photographic detail. If you want that kind of detail, have a look in the description. I've got a link to my article on RC-TNT.com where I do actually take you over all the bits and pieces. This was for me about showing you how it drives and showing me how it drives too. And yeah, recommended. Thank you for watching. Throw me a like and I'll catch you again real soon right here on RC-TNT. Cheers.